I would be among the first to admit that we made mistakes in government. I will be among the first to admit that there was corruption within previous Antigua Labour Party administrations. But I have to admit that the corruption that exists today under the UPP regime makes corruption under the previous ALP administration child's play, my dear people.
I mean, this thing is explosive.
There will be no job losses under the Labour Party administration.
There may be trouble ahead, but while there's moonlight and music and love and romance,
I now turn to the water shortage that has plagued this country for some time. And I say to you tonight that leadership matters. I say to you tonight that the water shortage that our people have been experiencing is an issue that belongs to a different age. And I say too that we have made positive steps in order to resolve the water problem. And I guarantee you that within 14 days, there will be increased water supply in this country.
Let's face the music and dance.
The cornerstone of our general election campaign was the provision of affordable housing. Indeed, we promised 500 homes in 500 days. And we said to you that you would have gotten 500 homes in 500 days. Those with little or no vision said that it could not be done. Well, as your Prime Minister, I said to you that it can be done and that it shall be done.
Let's face the music and dance. Let's face the music and dance.
I mean, this thing is explosive.
This is True Labor Talks with your host, the executive of the Antigua Barbuda True Labor Party.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, True Labor Talks is back in effect. Another episode is here, and as we said, we are trying to get out our message. We're not trying to slam, we're not trying to defame anybody. But as a third party in Antigua and Barbuda, we do have changes in policies from the two other main parties, and we want to express them to you. So we have this podcast every week, and we believe that this is a way that it's interactive in the sense that you can text us, you can get us on WhatsApp, you can hail the party on Facebook and any other social media. We are usually there. So what we have in store today is several issues. We're going to talk about the campaign, my campaign in St. John's Rural South, as usual. Then we want to talk about the visit by the UN General Secretary to Barbuda. That was on Saturday, the 8th of October. And then we want to talk about the economy in general. It's going to be a very interesting conversation because as we see after the devastation of Irma and Maria in this region, I believe it caught most of the leaders in these islands napping, that they do not have an economic plan if these islands were hit with devastating earthquakes, hurricanes, or even volcanoes. And it appears to us that basically we're going to take the can and start to put it out there and ask for assistance. We're going to be beggars. Nedwell, what do you have to say?
Well, we are quite behind with lots of things, not just preparation for these disasters. I do hope that the lesson is being learned from this one, and we'll do much better in that. But get him to our campaign.
Yeah, definitely. We started with the campaign.
Yeah.
What a lovely
It was so good.
Thursday afternoon
It was good. Yeah,
recovering from the week before where we got washed out with the
hurricane. We had to run
hurricane.
from the rain.
Yeah, we're moving forward very nicely. Meeting a lot of new people. But you know one thing that, I have to say this. It is so different from the last time.
Yes.
Because when we went out there was that skepticism. When you're talking, I'm from the True Labour Party, forming a new party, breaking away from corrupt Labour Party, and people like,
that's that wonder.
I wonder how long they're going to last. I wonder how crazy. But them boys are not going to last 2 weeks.
This time
much
around.
less what? I think next year is going to make our fifth anniversary of being in existence, and all to the hardship, the defections, the hypocrisy, the people with the double standards and the double take, and the people with no principle. I can easily say this is wrong, but then at the end of the day say just tuck the tail between the legs and go back and suck up for more.
That's right, same old,
we went around in the Constitution Road South this week, and there were so many people, the houses that we went to, new people we met, and a lot of them were people that we knew of before also, but we really didn't have a chance to talk to them in any great numbers or time. So that we actually had the time this occasion on Thursday, and they were like, I remember the lady was telling us, I do remember you. You came just before the elections in your lawyer collars and so on. I didn't have on my robe, but I had on my lawyer collars. I think they were hailing, wanting to know what was going on. I was like, hey, have you seen anybody from the other parties? They said no. I said, well, I'm here, and they really appreciated that. I think they said, and we even got shirts.
You remember that. You remember that.
So it was very good to meet them again and to just say, yes, man, I'm still here. I know that I haven't been around in that part of the constituency too much, but I mean, this time between now and December, we plan to canvass that area fully, to get to know everybody, to get hear all their concerns, and how we will tackle a lot of the policies for the area to improve it.
That's right.
And it was really great. What do you have to say, Nedwell?
One of the amazing things, because as we were coming up to the first bend there, where we met that young lady, we saw some potholes, and I drew to your attention the depth of those holes. And when we went further over, just coming close to the close of our campaign, and we spoke to a family there they were up on that. They were talking about the potholes every morning.
I think he said he lost 2 tires or something like that. Yeah, and it was true. Because when we saw the fall, you drew it to my attention first. But then as soon as you drew it to my attention, there was this small blue car that went through and and then I said, boy, that suspension gone, boy. He drove on like if he didn't feel it. But they say a car is an inanimate object. I said, ouch, boy, that poor car.
If he didn't feel it, I know his shocks did. For sure.
I know that the lifespan on that car has been reduced
somewhat.
A good couple months at least.
You know the irony about that there?
What's that?
The representative of that constituency is the Minister of Works.
The Minister of Public Works,
That's right.
He's the Minister of Public Works.
How does that sound? What's that there? Is this deliberate or what?
You know what happened? I just think it's just neglect. Couldn't care less.
What are you saying?
Because, I remember I told the lady, somebody saying, Tika can't do anything because now he's sick. Remember I told him, Tico has always been sick. From the day I knew Tico Lake, the first time I saw Eustace Tico Lake down at North Street, they had a meeting down there. I knew that Tico Lake was walking around since 2009 on the campaign trail with a colostomy bag.
Okay.
He and Arthur Nibs, they were sick people. And if you notice, which are the most underperforming ministries in government? The Ministry of Works and the Ministry of Agriculture.
That's right.
Headed by Eustace Tico Lake and Arthur Nibs.
That's right.
Those guys, to me, They were sick people, and they came to the Labour Party not only to be the candidates, but also to get the party to look about their health problems. And they got the assistance. So, I mean, I'm thinking people need to look at it like this. You want people to represent you and people you can go to help solve your problems.
That's right.
But when you have a sick individual, and sickness is for all of us, but if Tico and Nix came to the party looking assistance for their health, how can they help you? You're looking assistance from somebody that is seeking assistance
Not much of any they can give you.
You know, the constituency is in a deplorable state where infrastructure is concerned.
Worse.
Mr. Lake, I remember the last time I really heard from him. You know, Nedwell, the only time we really hear about Eustace Lake in the last 3 years is when just about 3 months ago they're talking about replacing him as a candidate for St. John's Roseau with the guy Darrell Matthew. That when Tico rail up, like he get out, he coughing like a Count Dracula. He rise up like a Dracula boy, and he said, no, and if they trouble me, I'm going to run as an independent, and blah, blah, and blue, blue. But ask Tico about the water in Lower Otters. Ask Tico about the roads in Radio Range, and Lower Otters, and Top Otters, and Golden Grove, and Nut Grove, and Creekside, and Golden Grove Extension. Ask him about that. You hear nothing. Absolutely. As I've been asking him, Eustace Tico Lake, what about the Golden Grove Community Center? You promised the people that you would complete the community center.
That's right.
A young girl was buggered in that community center in 2011 by a 16-year-old boy.
Yeah, and that's a fact.
The guy is presently serving 15 years in prison.
Just imagine.
1735 for his act. Because that community center was part of the fencing scandal, and it has not been completed up to now. And that is what we're saying. We don't hear anything about Tico. But just before that whole stuff about replacing him, and he fire up, boy, and he coming on strong, and I'm not finished with politics yet.
And all that.
You know? I remember just at the beginning of the year or late last year, they're talking about they got the money from the grant from England, the United Kingdom, to help to rebuild, to build roads. Remember that?
Yeah.
And Tico come up, they're going to build a 4-lane highway from the airport, which is Sir George Waters Highway. A 4-lane highway. And he thought about he needed to get some of the lands from the people in Carlisle so he can build a bigger road. A 4-lane highway. That must be the shortest highway. Because from airport to Dee's gas station. I don't know if they're going all the way down to Tomlinson's by Spooku's gas station, really. Or whatever they call it now down there. But even if you call that can't be more than 3 miles. Can't be more than a 3-mile highway. And they're going to invest money in a grant to build four lanes. So after you fly down the road in 2 seconds,
that's what it is.
you hit a traffic jam.
That's the money. That's the money.
That's the last time I heard of him. That's the last time I heard him.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But everything all right with you?
Yeah.
All right, man. So, yeah, Tico, they gave him an opportunity, and it's been 10 years now. Well, it's going to be 10 years in another 2 years. 10 years, 2009 to 2019, to uplift the lives of the people in St. John's Roseau. It has not been done. And the people of St. John's Roseau need to take stock and realize that if it is not happening on the Tico Lake, it's not happening on the Winston Williams. It hasn't happened on the UPP. It hasn't happened on the Labour Party.
No.
And we are saying, I am here and I have a plan, and we can make a positive change in your life. That is what the True Labour Party is about. And we do intend to build our community sector. We do intend to improve the lives of the people in that constituency. And as we say, we don't go out and tell people to vote for us. We're just asking the people in St. John's Roseau to keep an open mind and listen to us when we come around and campaign, and you share your thoughts of how to improve your community, your constituency. That is, you live amongst these people, your neighbors, your friends, your family. How can we do better than what has happened in the recent past? In the last, say, 15 years, since 2004, when Winston Williams got there.
Winston got in there. It's so true. The people are so receptive as to what we are saying. They understand what we are trying to do, especially in terms of bringing the people together. And because the place is so divided right now, that nothing is happening. Regardless to who's doing what and what is doing, that division has created a problem for Antigua. Blue and red. So blue don't see nothing, red does that is worth the while, and vice versa. So the whole thing just fall apart, and we are the catalyst right inside there. We are the third party. We never got a chance, and we're asking you for a chance. We brought our program to you last election. You pointed out, well, you need more candidates and all that good stuff. We are coming again. We are letting you know that it's not the amount of candidates that make this thing be effective. It's the policies that you have. It's the program that we're presenting. And we are presenting a serious program. Most of our programs, if you look, even now that national service stuff, you see they're trying.
They adopted that.
They're trying to adopt it.
Yeah,
There's lots of things in our manifesto that they're trying to adopt. But what I'm so glad about is that we can see they're late.
Yeah,
it's already printed in our manifesto for
That's
years
so
back.
true.
So now they're coming. You can just determine for yourself that you're way behind the time. They're not thinking.
Yeah.
So we just have to continue to do what we're doing, go out there and meet the people. They're glad. I see how glad they are to meet us. That's the feedback that we are getting. And we hope that we can continue with that up to the election and then just pull it all out.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better than Nedwell. That is so well said.
Yeah.
Rural South, we have time. We're going to go to every household in that constituency. We're going to try to meet every man, woman, and child. Those that can vote, and even those that cannot vote at this point in time, due to age, due to the fact that you may not have been, hasn't had the time to register as yet to become a citizen. But if you are staying amongst us, then we want to hear your opinions. We want to know you before you can even vote, so that when you vote, you know that what the plan is.
That's right.
We're going to leave it there in regards to the campaign in Rural South. Next topic we really want to deal with is that we had a visitor to Antigua and Barbuda. The United Nations Secretary General. He came in on island yesterday, Saturday the 8th of October. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who had just passed a destroyed church and bank, was stunned. He walked over the roofless house with two of its walls missing and stepped inside. This was in Codrington, Barbuda. And the article said a pink-colored popcorn maker stood in the middle of the living room floor, turned upside down, surrounded by scattered clothing, paper, and other household knickknacks. Over to its left, a large refrigerator lay frozen in time, tilted on its side. And that is what he is looking at in the picture. This is an article from the Miami Herald, the 8th of October. And I just wanted to get to the point that, as we have been saying in the program, what is the plan for this government? How are they going to rebuild Barbuda? We're hearing these astronomical figures of 100 million US, 200 million, 250 million, 300 million, 350 million US dollars.
Back to 250.
Yeah. But what we're hearing here is that the article says here, while he came to show solidarity with the Caribbean, Guterres also hopes to spur the international community into action. A humanitarian appeal on behalf of the Caribbean so far has received a poor response. And equally important to him, Guterres said, is to show the link between climate change and devastation. A storm of this magnitude, he said, of Irma can transform a paradise into a hell. One other section of the article I wanted to refer to is towards the end, the Prime Minister of Antigua, Gaston Brown, says, rebuilding the island and making it resilient for the next storm, Brown pointed out, was just one of his government's many challenges as it struggles to help the island recover while also taking care of its residents until they can return to their homes. As a middle-income country, Antigua has had to borrow money at commercial rates, and the storms are a financial setback. He hopes that having Guterres see the island himself will help make a difference. For us to take on hundreds of millions of dollars to rebuild clearly will create another problem, Brown said. It will worsen our debt. So borrowing is not the solution. So we are not going to be borrowing that 250 million or even higher to rebuild Barbuda. On our program last week, we said that those figures are highly inflated because they were including in that figure for the private hotels, businesses over in Barbuda. And that is what they took the whole devastation total to rebuild. When we are saying on our last program that these are businessmen, private businesses making their profits and have their properties insured.
And so forth.
That should not be an estimate taken on by the government. The government should be talking about rebuilding homes to the people, schools. To some extent, they probably will help out with the churches, the electrical plant or whatever they have over there, the water refining plant or desalination, whatever they have over there. That is a government concern, the hospital, if they have a court, and other government ministries and buildings. That is what their main concern is supposed to be. Anything else to me is private, and they need to take care of their own business.
That's right.
So the Prime Minister went off with his calculations. I hope I'm looking for them to revise that figure downward. But Nedwell, the article says they are not going to be boring. But even more than that, that they are not getting the sort of money, the response, as the Secretary General said, the response. This is what he said. A humanitarian appeal on behalf of the Caribbean so far has received a poor response. So what do you say to that, Nedwell?
Well, again, when we went out there from start there, it would have helped if we appeared if we knew what we were saying. You know, all this back and forth with figures has created a problem. That people think that you really don't even know what you're talking about.
Your credibility has been shot,
Prime
Minister.
It has been. You go out there, you start to call figures, you up it. Then eventually you have to come back down to be listened to. You know, the whole thing is that, and people see you for what it is.
Yeah.
You know, they see your credibility. There's no credibleness in this whole thing, because this guy, the devastation was not even assessed by the experts.
No.
He was talking about a situation where he flew over the island and figured that it was going to come. And this is what you told people. And he doesn't understand that in those parts of the world, people listen. And they hear what you're saying and pick sense out of nonsense and just brush you off if you don't come credible. And this is why I believe the response is so poor there. If he went out there confident as to what he was talking about, the response would have been much different. And then the Secretary General, he's correct. He knows exactly what's going on. I know he knows the problem as well. He didn't state it here, but what he's showing you that the response, we're not getting the response that is normal, not a normal way of the response of being, an island that's been devastated in that form.
Nedwell, what I look at it as is bad PR.
Yeah, very much.
He went over there in his helicopter and thought that he was grandstanding and being a media whore.
Yeah.
And he thought he was selling the country by calling these big figures, and then people say, okay then, even if I say 100 million and they give me 50, yeah, all right. But wait, let me up it down. So let me say 200 million, then I get 100 million. 300, me get 150. And he went with these ridiculous numbers. And people, you see what happened? Antigua has a bad name internationally for being corrupt. You understand? Under the two main parties, there are allegations upon allegations upon allegations that have never seen the courts, that have never seen an inquiry.
That's right.
And they point fingers at each other during election time, coming up to elections. And everybody point their finger and everybody said they're going to lock you up for corruption. But who has gone to jail?
Not a soul.
So I am not in that game with them. What I will say in regards to Barbuda, and this whole article, and what we have been saying all along, is that there needed to have been a policy in place for Antigua to be self-sufficient. We need to be resilient. we ought to have had a disaster plan in place, because we are on some of the smallest islands, nation states in the world. We suffer from hurricanes, earthquakes, and volcanoes. And to say that because you got devastated and you don't have a plan in place of how you're going to manage your finances and your budget, and basically you just go on, you just take off your cap and turn it over and start to build the international community, it's not good enough. That is not leadership with a foresight. We in Antigua and Barbuda appears to just every month it's about meeting the payroll for government.
That's it.
And that is
That's it.
a great achievement.
That's it. That's all
That
they
is a
get.
great achievement.
That's all they-
I saw on Facebook just last week, Gaston Brown is the greatest finance minister ever. Why? Because he was able to pay everybody at the end of September.
Can you imagine?
That
Yeah,
qualifies
that
to
kind
be a
of
great
little
leader.
Petty nonsense that these people talk. But
And I told the lady, but wait, it's not Antigua that got hit with a hurricane to any great effect
no,
now.
I'm telling you.
It's Barbuda,
Yeah.
it's Dominica, it's St. Martin, it's Puerto Rico, it's St. Croix, St. Thomas, the American Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands. Antigua escaped it. Suppose we got hit by Irma or Maria. That is when I would really say, and he paid the salaries at the end of September. I would be impressed myself, because I know the way Irma operate, I don't even think we'd have had a treasury.
Yeah, that's so true.
Somewhere out in the Caribbean Sea.
I see, when you have nothing to gloat about, when you're nothing like that, it's any little thing you just pick up and feel proud about.
They will find
There's
anything to
anything,
give
there
him a
is
little
nothing-
edge.
There is nothing to gloat about. in
Yeah,
Antigua.
yeah.
But let me say this, Via. Another
Go
thing,
ahead.
another part of that Barbuda episode that did not help with the international community as well, is that right in the middle of that tragedy, we were talking about lands. We had shift off to who land belonged to and all these nonsense. Via.
They'd gone off a message.
Certainly, when the international public hears that, Via, they don't believe we have our act together. They want to a kind of little wishy-washy thing. They didn't even know who the land belonged to as far as they're concerned.
Yeah,
The
but-
parliament of that country is saying something and the land really belongs to them. And the Barbuda people saying, of course, we've been here for a while and we know that the land belongs to us. So it becomes a bickering and people are supposed to send their money into that.
Yeah.
The whole thing didn't make much sense here.
He went off
totally off the
message.
message.
You
Totally.
see what happened? He should have been holding this country together.
Of course,
He
yeah,
knows
that
how
was the
Antigua
whole
and its
play.
history
That was the
enmity
play.
between Antigua and Barbuda.
That was the
He
play.
should have been pulling the two
Thank you.
islands together,
That's
the people
right.
on these
That's
two islands
right.
together.
That's right.
And he didn't do it.
Not at all. Not
He
at
went
all.
in to talk about squatters.
And
You know what the whole
can
thing
we
is?
imagine?
They have an expression in America,
uh,
not ready for prime time.
he wasn't ready.
The Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, I saw it when I was in Antigua and Barbuda. Maybe at some point, he could have been.
Yeah.
But he was not ready for prime
No,
time.
no, he wasn't ready, man.
Most of them. Since Papa Bird,
Yeah.
I don't
He's not
think
much.
I don't think any of them have been ready for prime
No,
time.
not much readiness for that.
Not ready for prime time. Just because you were able to evacuate Barbuda. Not with your own Coast Guard, it's independent private boats
Boats
went
and
over
so
there and pulled the
helped and
people
all
over.
that.
And you pat yourself on the back.
Yeah. Yeah, sound like a president that I hear. That just pat himself on the back for everything. You know what I'm saying? This guy.
Yeah, Trump.
Yes, that's him.
Trump went out with Puerto Rico
Yeah,
about how he got
man.
so much people down
And
there.
the people dying, and he's still doing a good job.
No, Trump throwing out towel.
Yeah, lapping
towels.
like he's playing basketball. Hey man, these guys don't care, man.
No, they don't.
You vote
They
them
don't.
in there and you have them, then they just take this position so lightly. You know, they just do what they feel like and make a joke out of everything that is not fun. The whole thing is sickening there. We have some irresponsible leaders in these times, and our leader in particular is one of them there. The way he go about this whole thing is just so silly. When he was talking about squatters and all that there, all I see would have rectified the problem is if the people go back where they were and picked up from there. it wouldn't have been much of a problem. You have an organization there that is going to furnish you the financing to do it. So all you will have to do is to go and you get a contractor, and you had a 2-bedroom house before. This is what we're going to replace. We replace your 2-bedroom house. The contractor comes, he gives you an estimate, you take it to the organization, and they help you out. They go as far as they can go with you. Well, after we give you back that 2-bedroom house there, if you want a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, you're on your own. But we are responsible for where you were. No, the people had a life there. They're like this man I saw in one article there. He's talking about, he's a hunter, and he wants to continue being a hunter. He don't want to change and get into all this crazy stuff, go bank and have this 9 to 5. No, the hunters and the fishermen, they had a life, and they will be quite pleased to go back where they were and continue with the life that they had. They were comfortable with it there. So when you come up with all these little off-the-wall things, and then it is sickening. It was sickening, and the general public saw that. The international public saw that, and it's now affecting us. Another thing there, assistance that was granted, assistance that was being pledged, assistance that people were willing to come and at their own expense and assist, was denied. They decided they didn't want it because they wanted to be in charge of everything there. These things doesn't make much sense. The first thing that the international with is the money they want. They want the cash. They don't want our assistance. And this is what happened. People are reluctant to send their money into situations like this. The situation isn't nice for me to be pushing money into and say, you don't even know if the money is going to get to the area where it was actually sent for. And in Antigua case, you actually believe that it will never get there with all them different things that you hear about this country, this little country over the years, all the different skullduggeries and all that. So I'm not really surprised that we are now really getting the assistance that we expected from the international public. As you said, that we came off message. By far, we start talking about a completely different thing when we should be actually talking about the devastation that took place in that country. So I don't know how we're going to rectify that there. The damage already has been done. I don't know. I know that if we had taken some of the assistance that we were offered, that would have cut a lot into the expense that you're going to have now in order to be erecting those buildings, refurbish some of those buildings. So I really don't know how we plan to go about doing that. I wonder if the Prime Minister knows. He already messed it up a lot. And I just do hope that some point in time we can be able to see the way somewhere down the road as to where we are going with Barbuda. I don't know I wonder what the Secretary General is planning to do, though. He sees the devastation firsthand. I'm not too optimistic because you see what's happening to Puerto Rico. You understand?
They have it even harder than us.
Of course, they're not even willing to filter their money into places like those, even though that they are even more recognized in terms of where they were. Myself thought that they were in a better position. But after seeing what they're like now, I've seen the type of houses, some of those houses in the countryside and so. They weren't much better off. Maybe
I could not believe the sort of devastation that had hit Puerto Rico.
First
of all, I thought they had a higher building code standard.
I want to believe. I thought so.
I thought that Puerto Rico, and we're not too far where we were.
No.
90 miles or 100 miles or whatever away from them, give or take.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised that they have like 10% electricity restored, 45% of water. It's just people dying because the hospital don't have diesel in the generator.
Generators and stuff like that.
I mean, and they're supposed to be linked a territory of the United States.
Doesn't sound right.
And I figured that if they know a hurricane coming, they're supposed to have 2, 3, 4 generators to back it up.
Absolutely.
You know, I must say that we really were blessed.
Yeah.
That we did not get hit with that.
We couldn't say that enough. Yeah, that would have been a tragedy around here if that had happened.
Because we talk about independence. We talk about that on the 1st of November 1981,
That's right.
Antigua is an independent nation.
Yeah.
Antigua and Barbuda
Yeah.
is an independent nation state.
Yeah.
But what about the leaders?
Yeah.
Are they showing sovereignty over Antigua and Barbuda when they're going to beg for this money and don't even have a plan in place?
This is what I'm saying.
If Antigua got hit, what was the plan for Barbuda to survive for at least a week until we could get up and running and go over there to assist our fellow countrymen? There's no plan in place.
There would have
Where
been
are the
any
silos, the food silos to
None of that
store
stuff.
food
None of that stuff.
for in case of a natural
None of that
disaster
stuff.
that we
That's
have
right.
the basic necessities to
That's right.
support life? Where are the hurricane shelters?
That's right.
Because
None of that.
1,600 people came over here and we were struggling to find places to house them. And if Antigua had gotten hit, it would be tens, 20, 30,000 people without a house.
Definitely.
What was the government going to do? All they can say, thank God. That's all we can say, because our government, the Gaston Brown administration, corrupt labor, just like several of the governments in the past,
past
they
leaders.
appear to be incompetent.
That's
They
right.
do not plan down the line
Don't
what
care.
is needed.
They don't care.
They don't care.
About,
They don't care.
about the nation. It's all about self-worth and all that crazy stuff here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we need to take a different look at this thing if we want the country to progress.
If we want Antigua to be an independent nation state,
know,
because
holding
we
its
see
own.
even the dependencies, the St. Martins, the
Yes.
British and the American
Yeah.
Virgin Islands,
Yeah.
even to some extent Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Look at how they are still dependent on the
That's
United
right.
Kingdom,
And
on
all these,
France, on the Dutch, and they
that good
all
stuff.
failed. The European powers coming to the assistance of the dependencies has been
No.
minuscule.
Yeah, very,
It has
very,
been
very,
late.
very.
Lives have been lost. And you
Oh,
talk
man,
about you still want to be a
unnecessarily.
dependency?
Yeah. Yeah.
They said what happened in St. Martin is that the government, those officials who could get out after the storm, left.
Off.
They gone to France, they gone to the Netherlands,
And
and,
they
they
make
left
them
that for somebody else to deal with.
Sort out that stuff. Yeah. Hey, this is what leadership comes to. Hey, and this is why it's so important for people when they go on election time to look at the proper representation they can get.
Nedwell,
You
it's
are-
over 3
you know-
years now. The idea came up for us to build a community shelter
Yes.
that could serve the dual
Yes,
purpose
yes.
of being a hurricane shelter
said
for people in Lower Otters.
Absolutely.
It's not because Hurricane
No, none of
Irma
that stuff,
and
or the
Maria
previous
came
hurricane
just
years
last
before.
month that
None
we are
of that.
talking about it.
None of that.
We had a
None of
raffle in April. We've been
Yeah.
trying to raise fund. I've been sitting with the draftsman and DCA trying to get the plans sorted out.
Look, those people that we talked to on the campaign trail from February, they
Yeah.
can testify to the fact
Yeah.
that we were talking about getting the building approved by NODS so that it could be a hurricane shelter. And that was way before the
Way before,
hurricanes.
years we've been
So
talking about
of
this.
course, so they can testify to the fact that we were in tuned with
To
what's
what
going
is
on.
needed, what
we
is
know what's
needed.
needed and all that good stuff. So, hey, what else can you say? Come election, you vote for the people with the plan. And that's the name of our manifesto, the plan. And it's so detailed. Yesterday, and we read on Variety Radio, because we're on Variety Radios every Saturday from 1 until 3, and we were, we read out a portion of our manifesto.
Yeah.
And what we read is something now that they are now planning to embark upon. But it goes to show you how way ahead of the game we are as to what's needed for this country.
I believe that people have moved past hearing us with their ears, and now
Yeah.
they're engaging us and listening.
Listen, that's right. That's
Now
right.
the battle is on, because soon from now elections will be just around the corner.
coming up.
And then you're going to hear them start to bamboozle and fool and to confuse the message that we're putting out here. That is one of the reasons why we're starting our campaign early, and that we're going to continue to remain focused and consistent to let the people in the various constituencies, the Antigua Barbuda, the true Labour Party will be contesting, is that we have a plan. It's a plan that we can only benefit you. We're not doing this plan to just get into office.
This is no gimmick.
Just for power and for money.
This is the real thing.
If we wanted power and money, we could have stayed with
Of
corrupt
course.
Labour
You
or
link
United
up.
Progressive
You link
Party.
up. That's right. You just link up with the
If I wanted that for myself, I mean, I'm even hearing they want me back, or they won't mind if I come back in the party. I mean, we even had our meeting where one of our members talking about me going back to Labour Party. And let me just say that that is not going to happen. We have burnt that bridge. We're moving in a different direction. I believe that all those parties, UPP and ALP, come up with the rescue plan and ready to rescue. True Labour is going to be the one that is going to have to rescue them and this country. What I would say is that to get our message out, to get the mindset, to change people's mindset, the way we deal with our politics, it will take time, but with consistency, right?
Yep.
And a message that is not only practical and reasonable, but people can identify with it.
That's so true.
I
That's
mean,
what's happening.
you were living in St. John's Roseau where no former administration, government administration, has built any government building to improve your life.
Nothing.
And through Labour Party that hasn't been around for 5 years is saying we want to build a community
That's how we
center.
want to start.
We want to build a hurricane emergency
We want to
center.
start with
In there
something.
you will have an after school program. You have all the various lectures from doctors and people who can talk about family planning, birth control, talk about hypertension and cancers and so on, and can inform you what you need to do to take care of your family. You don't want to see that in your community?
No.
What you want $1,000 every 5 years, and you go up to Michael's Mount and hear the latest
And jam to the
loud music coming out of Jamaica, and they give you a red shirt, a red shoe, a red hat, a red pen, a red cup, and you are happy accepting that,
it does
voting
become
for
part.
them, and you don't see them for another 5 years.
That's right.
I believe that is too little, too late, and they need to come with a better plan. But we have the better plan.
Absolute. That's the whole problem. Yes, it's, the people need to get themselves together. They need to change their mindset. This $100, $1,000, whatever, them roll up in this T-shirt and then pass out to you. Them things, the thing of the past. We can't live on that because they themselves supposed to realize that the money didn't even last, for no time. A week. If that long. And then you have another 4 years plus to live through agony. And you're going to tell me you're going to do the same thing again there? It's disheartening.
That's inhuman. You can't really seriously doing that to yourself.
No way, time and time again.
You have no love for yourself if you're going to put yourself to that.
One of the things I've been hearing while we're out there too, is that we haven't seen our candidates. Even his friends, them now are saying, look, this man has abandoned us, man. There's no way I can even consider voting for this man again. From the time election gone, he just disappeared. And this is the type of representation that people, you can't get accustomed to that because it's not doing you any good. You need somebody who you see in the constituency time and time again. And I need to say, your father did a good job at that, Election, no election. I used to play domino up in Radio Range up there, up in that area. Your father was the candidate for that area. And, way before election, you see, he come around, may not be campaigning, but he go and visit these people.
Right.
Yeah, I just see this man so regular in that community there, and it wasn't even close to election. It's just a different way of doing things. When you don't understand what you're doing, I guess you don't do it right. And he understood politics as a peer. He goes up, he visits the people, he sees what's bothering them, I gather some of them, he probably have a dig in the pocket and help, and all that good stuff. I wasn't close by to know, but, doing all that, I want to believe that that's part of the whole going on. But this is how a representative go about his constituency. He goes in there every so often and see what's wrong, see what's need to be rectified and all that. The representative at this time for Rural South don't know what's wrong in the community there because he hasn't visited the community.
Yeah.
You need to visit it. You need to go in there and see what's going on and see what's required of you. But laziness is something else over here. And I really, but it's the people that's really, but my mind is being, somehow can't even imagine what's going on with the people doing this to themselves time and time again.
Well, we had this sort of representation in 2005, right? Because I remember, no, not 2004, I'd say, because I do remember like a month, it's weeks after Winston Williams got elected. I think that election was the 23rd of March, 2004.
Okay.
And within weeks, I remember seeing an article in the Observer newspaper, and they were talking. His campaign team, members of his branch, were talking about the promises he made to them, and he was going to assist them in finding work, and so on and so forth. There were two. I remember seeing in the newspaper twice, and that was weeks.
Yeah.
After the election, he had already turned his back on the people. And that is why he had a rude awakening in 2009. He had a rude awakening. This was the youngest, Winston Williams was the youngest MP in Antigua and Barbuda politics. And he comes from the area, and his legacy was just 5 years. And a community center that he was
supposed to
the face of this fencing scandal, in which he was supposed to build a community center in North Grove and Golden Grove playing field. And to this day, 7 years on, no window,
Nothing.
no bathroom, no door, no roof, nothing. And that is that. I honestly don't understand. If I were living there and Mr. Williams or the United Progressive Party came to me, my response is, you started that. And before you even talk to me about voting for you finish that. Because it's not 6 weeks. It's not 365 days.
No, man. It's
years y'all had to complete this.
Man.
And you hear that the crimes that are happening in that community center, people are being sexually assaulted in that community center, drugs are being sold.
Yep.
And you can't come to me now to get a vote.
Disrepute.
That's
a place that's become a place of disrepute. Really.
Yeah. It is so unsafe over there. And they're talking about they're coming up with ways to fight crime.
Yeah.
Well, how about finish the community center that crime is taking place in whatever that structure is? Go and finish it up. That is the way to minimize the crime in that area.
That's right.
You have built a structure. The United Progressive Party and the Antigua Labour Party came in, promised they're going to do it, left it just like that. That is attracting criminals. What are you doing to the people? One says people first, or one says
we're going ready to rebuild.
Ready to rebuild.
Yeah.
So I am asking the people who support the United Progressive Party and the corrupt Labour Party, when was people first in North Grove and Golden Grove or St. John's Rural South? And for the people who support corrupt Labour, the ABLP, I am asking you, what part of St. John's Rural South since the 12th of June 2014 has been rebuilt? Or you actually see a plan to do anything? Nothing has happened. I don't see no door. I don't see no window in that community center. I don't see any masons. I don't see any carpenters. I don't see any bricklayers. I don't see anything going in the direction for me to say, okay, ready to rebuild mean that something look like it happening. You understand? Economic powerhouse. My God.
They use words so loosely.
That was Malcolm X.
Yes.
Our race use words loosely. And unfortunately, the people follow them along with their nonsense.
Absolutely.
Nedwell, at the end of the day, we say the negative things, what the Prime Minister is doing.
Yeah.
But we have to say the positive. What would we do? Or what the country needs to think about that needs to be done.
In place. That's right.
What we need right now after this devastation, we know that we're going to have a higher expenses on everything because there is a whole part of our community in Antigua and Barbuda, a 62 square mile island, 25 or so miles away, 30 something miles away, that needs to be rebuilt.
That's right.
To some extent.
Absolutely.
Because we do want those people to inhabit and continue on with their lifestyle.
Their lives.
That is what the true labor is all about.
Yeah, you have to continue their lives.
We cannot promise you that we can rebuild Barbuda in the shake of a wrist.
That's right.
It will take time.
Absolutely.
But we also mentioned on our last program that we believe that those individuals that work for the Barbuda Council, we will go and we will speak to them, and we need to have a plan by the middle of next year how we're going to go about rebuilding that country. Yes, there can be superficial stuff done now. Who can help themselves, help themselves, and so on.
Sure,
if we can clean up, if we can get some of the roads and sugarcane in the road and rebuild whatever roads and so on. But the major rebuilding of that island will take time to come up to a plan. It's not a plan that we can go and tell you what we're going to do. We have to speak to you and let you know what we think and get your feedback. What do you think? Does this make sense? Do you think this is possible? Is it practical?
That's right.
So it will take time just to come up with a plan. But I do believe that if they take 5% from the workers of the Barbuda Council, and that is towards going to rebuild a house to them. I believe that those who are not working in Barbuda and they're over in Antigua, they should be in a program to go over and work to clean up, to assist those who have the skills to build, the carpenters, the masons. Those people will be put on a payroll. And we will take 5% of their paycheck. And that will go towards building the house. Now we have to look that some houses are completely decimated, and there's some that have the walls, some have the roof, some of them probably just superficial damage. Not everything has been wiped out.
That's right.
So it will go in different categories. Some people may actually think that they can do it themselves because they have their savings or their family will help them. So you have to sit with them and to figure out who has been completely wiped out, who has problems but can still live in their house, and they have tarpaulin in the roof and when the window blow up, but they have up some gauze or some sort of plastic up in it, and they're the people who have the finances that they don't even want assistance.
That's right.
We have to figure it out, and you have to come up with a plan to rebuild the water supply system, the electricity system, the roads, the hospital, the schools. Because the children, I mean, a priority should be the school.
Oh, yes.
A priority should be the school. Along with the homes, they need the schools. So you can't say you're going to build a house and go over there with your family, but your children can't go to school. And then alternatively, you can't go over there and build a school, but then people don't have nowhere after school to go home. So those have got to be a priority. Houses and schools and the basic things that they need, hospitals. Those are what are the priorities to me at this point in time.
Well, you know, maybe you weren't in this time, but time gone back there. Every Sunday used to have a group of people, if you're building a house, his friends who are the carpenter and all that good stuff, they will go and they will assist you. They'll go and they put on an oil tin of food. You hear him telling you. And you have a bunch of this, I'm the carpenter, I'm a laborer, but they all come together. And they will build a person's house free of cost. They will just do that, frame it up and then they do that. They need no disaster, no, not. This was a happening thing. Like every weekend, people get together and you see people getting houses here and there. It wasn't of no great cost. It was just people exercising their generosity.
That's the way we used to be.
That's right.
And that is what the Barbudans are fighting to maintain.
This is what I'm saying.
But Antigua is a changed place.
Yeah, they want to do it differently.
We have so many people amongst us now not from Antigua. Our culture
has been
sense
diluted.
Of unity, community, oneness is no longer there.
No, man.
Right? We have a lot of foreigners in Antigua and Barbuda. And the way that I have no problems with foreigners, but I have a problem in the way that previous governors integrated them into our
That's right,
society.
yeah.
Because the
It wasn't done
United
right.
States is a country with hundreds of millions of square miles.
Yes, yes.
Lands
Galore.
that you cannot see the end.
Galore. I'm telling you.
From sea to shining
Oh,
sea.
yeah, me.
And they have a lady, a statue in the East River
Right.
that says,
see?
give us your tired,
That's
your
right.
hungry, and your poor.
That's right.
They invited the immigrants
That's right.
because they had lots of lands
Oh,
and
you
they did not
mean
have the
they had the
population
place
to populate
cover
it.
that's
For them
right.
to have become a superpower, they needed the population.
That's right.
They needed the large amounts of immigrants into a country.
That's so true.
Antigua is 108 square miles. And basically, we did the same thing.
That's right. With
Not
no
thinking the
resource.
future that lands are gone right now. The jobs market is dismal, non-existent.
You know what I'm saying? No
The housing
resource.
market, they don't have enough houses being built for people
That's true.
overall.
That's right.
But we
overall.
adopted that same strategy.
That is so
It was
crazy.
just political expedience.
Yes.
And now we are paying the
mileage,
price.
Mileage.
I
that's
have
right.
no problem with the foreigners, but I believe that does carte blanche come to Antigua.
It wasn't
If you
done
want
right.
work,
It
was a
wasn't
bad
done right.
policy.
It wasn't
I
done right.
always believe that if you said that you had a hotel industry and the Antiguans didn't want to work certain jobs and that you didn't have enough Antiguans to fill the positions, then there should have been a quota
That's right.
of how
You
many
must.
foreigners you would allow into Antigua and
right.
Barbuda. If you said you had 1,000 jobs in the hotel industry needed to be filled, you do a survey and you know what was needed
That's
and
right.
what type you need. You need
Those,
skilled laborers,
and
you
that's
need
your figure.
doctors, you need lawyers, you need carpenters.
That's right.
Then you would limit what was needed.
That's your figure.
Because now that you've invited any and everybody to come here,
Yeah.
how are you going to feed us?
I don't
How are you
know.
going to house us?
I really don't know where.
I don't understand.
I keep on saying, if you have a party and you cook food for 500, you cannot invite 5,000.
Yeah, yeah.
You're inviting chaos. And this is what's really going on in Antigua right now. There was no quota set on how much people we're going to take. First of all, I don't even think it was thought out properly why we needed to migrate these people to Antigua.
No.
It wasn't. They just
It
did
was,
it.
they thought it out. Election is
for
coming.
political benefit.
Election is coming next year, next week.
Yeah, what a
Let
pity.
us invite a lot of islands
Yeah,
that
bring
can
them
vote
in.
in Antigua.
That's right.
Make sure they get here 3 years
Oh, you
before the election,
Oh, you mean.
and therefore they can vote.
Yeah.
Nedwell, we have another 2 minutes before we
Yes, yeah.
conclude.
Yeah.
I just want to say, give me a minute, and I give you the closing.
Yes,
the closing.
okay.
I do the intro, you do the outro.
Okay.
That's our format.
I'm good with
Well,
that.
Antigua and Barbuda, the True Labour Party is here. We're dead serious about representing you in Parliament. I believe that if you listen to our message, that you will hear a fresh, a new approach to the way things need to be done, the correct approach to the way things need to be done. And I believe at the end of the day, you would see a better result from our policies that we are putting forward. It's not that they don't have these policies in their mind also, but you know what? No money involved.
That's right.
No underhand deal. No brown paper bag is going into this True Labour
Exactly.
Party. So they won't want to take up our policies.
No, that's all right.
You understand? But we in True Labour Party and for the constituency that I plan to represent, listen to our message. Do not close your mind and be blinded by party politics. Because at the end of the day, you are going to suffer, not the politician. You have to make the decision what is best for you, your family, your neighbors, your friends, your community, and your constituency as a whole. And that's all I just wanted to say. That's where I leave it alone. Nedwell, you have another 2 minutes.
Yes, we are living in some strange time, ladies and gentlemen, and we have to recognize that. These days, politicians are not like before. If you look back in yesteryear, you will see how politicians operate. There was some sort of respect for the people. Politician goes out there, whatever he's going to do, he let you know, talk about it with the people and all that. These times, politicians do as they like. There's no accountability. They don't tell you anything. You take it or leave it sort of attitude. Yes, I can understand that's happening. But what I'm not understanding, that when you get the opportunity later on to retaliate against that sort of behavior, you don't do that. You prefer to take a little brown bag with a couple dollars in there and all that stuff. You needed to change that behavior, ladies and gentlemen. We need to get this country going. Now, last election, True Labour came and we showed our policies and all that. And it was looking good then. It's still looking good now. And it's looking so good that I noticed the present government, some of the things that we have in our manifesto, they are moving towards. So, ladies and gentlemen, if they can see that, you can see that too. You can see that we are willing to give you the representation that you need. We are willing to have Antigua move on in the right direction so that the people can live a comfortable life. We want to have a proper economic policy that we can put people to work, we can feed people. In times of disaster like this, we can handle a good portion of it and all that good stuff. So we are a party, not here to gimmick you. We are not here to come and promise you things. As a matter of fact, we are a party that said we need to do something even before we get into government, to let the people see it's all about doing something. We talk of our community center. That is doing something before. That is helping the nation on. So, ladies and gentlemen, be very careful of how you vote next election. Be very careful of what you listen to and what you adapt yourself to. And seek proper representation. Look for the fittest person that's dealing with your constituency, that's running, to put into parliament that will represent you properly. And I guarantee you, you will have a better life down the road. Yeah.
Well said.
Yes.
Okay, bye for now. Take good care. We'll be back next week.
Bye for now.
A buzzard took a monkey for a ride in the air. The monkey thought that everything was on the square. The buzzard tried to throw the monkey off of his back, but the monkey grabbed his neck and said, "Now listen, Jack, straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Ain't no use in diving. What's the use of diving? Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top." The buzzard told the monkey, "You are choking me. Release your hold and I will set you free." The monkey looked the buzzard right dead in the eye and said, "Your story's so touching, it sounds just like a lie. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top." Bree-bree-doo, bree-bree-doo, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The buzzard told the monkey, "You are choking me. Release your hold and I will set you free." The monkey looked the buzzard right dead in the eye and said, "Your story's so touching, it sounds just like a lie. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top."